Hello, folks. How are you? I think I've given you enough of a lead-in. You may be hearing everything that I'm saying at the start. We'll hope so. I'll try and say something superfluous for the next 20 seconds or so that nobody misses out on anything too much. Sorry, we've been a bit of a break in transmission for the last few days. The last portion of the drive home, if you like, to Queensland, did have a couple of challenges to it, but we managed to get Cass and all her pot plants and associated other bits and pieces installed at the property, and a couple of days of sort of moving stuff in and out. And I've just got to say, wore me out. Not used to doing such physical exercise, I guess. But it was very good. Lost a heap of weight. And I think Cass is slowly but surely finding homes for things in her new place, which is great. She's very comfortable down there. And the dogs are, for everybody who is inquiring, is making themselves quite comfortable in their new home too. It's quite an adventure for the dogs down there. They've never had such open areas, such huge areas to run around in, and certainly have never seen goats or sheep before. And there are quite a few of both on the property. So that's proving to be a learning experience for everybody, I think, is the best way of describing that. So it's been a couple of busy days. The bus is down at Witherin at the moment, and for those that are interested in the electrical issues that we had, that we thought we'd fixed, Tony, God bless him, Tony Alvarez from over on Lake Estate, came to Canberra to help me out, managed to sort me out with isolating my lights. We still didn't find the short issue, and that is a problem. A couple more have developed, not major issues, but just pains me bum, really. So Vince has made the executive decision that he's come to Queensland. When I say Vince made the decision, I begged him, but he said he'd come. So you'll see a bit of content over the next week or so with Vince and I plodding around the bus as we try and rewire certain parts of it, which should be an adventure in and of itself, given that we'll be surrounded by the aforementioned goats, sheep, and dogs. Could be a bit of fun. Pete, changed the yeah, we thought about that. I think there's going to be a whole heap more than just the light stalk, mate. There's so much under the dash of that thing. I pulled the dash out of it, pulled all the modules out of it. All the wires in the back of that dash are obviously 24 years old, and then some. They are brittle, really dry, really inflexible, really brittle. So I'm thinking that it probably has more to do with the looms being old, and bearing in mind that the bloke who sold this to us said it had been sitting for 8 months, when in fact it had been sitting for 18 months. And then I've driven 20-odd thousand kilometres in it since we got it in October. And it's certainly gone over some good roads, and it's gone over some bloody bad roads. So maybe we've shook a few of those old wires apart in some instances, and in others it may be just the connections. I tend to believe the problem that we have with our headlights at any rate is something to do between the light blinker stalk, the dip switch, or I beg your pardon, not the dip switch, the actual light switch, turning the lights on, and where they connect somewhere into the back of the 30 amp master fuse box thing. So I think the problem is somewhere there rather than anywhere on the other side of that fuse. It's coming from inside the cab. So that's what we hope to try and find that out. G'day, David. Hope Harvey Bay's going all right for you up there. My daughter was up your way last weekend. I think, well, a little bit further north than you. She was up at Woodgate, had a great time up there until they found a tiger shark swimming with them, or not too far from them, while they were off one of the beaches up that way. So there are a few things happening at the moment that I do want you to be aware of. First one is the power supply on the laptop has shit itself, or I don't have it. Could be both. Hope to have that fixed in the next day or two, but I can't use the laptop to put a show together. I tried to get it out on the battery last night, thinking, oh yeah, I'll have enough time to do it with the battery. And just as I was about to hit create the show and do it, the whole thing died. So that was the end of that. I will sort that in the next day or two. I've got to play a little round of musical cars, as I'm currently in one of Cass's cars. We have another car that has to be taken down and brought back from Witherin, and a few other bits and pieces. So once I get down there, I might be able to sort a bit of this stuff out. Hopefully today, if not definitely tomorrow. And if anybody has a fix, in fact, Pete, you might have an idea on this. Got a Heyman Reese tow bar on the back of a Jeep that has a locking pin through it to hold it in. Now there's a lock on the other side of it, not like a normal lock. It's a lock that's built onto the pin itself, and the key for that lock has disappeared off the face of the earth. Now I have a couple of ideas on how I could get that off. One would involve an angle grinder, which does seem a little bit extreme, but maybe not as extreme as the second idea, which I Googled or YouTubed and found a screwdriver and a hammer down the barrel of the lock, and wrecking it might work also. I guess the big problem that I have doing that is if it doesn't work, I've wrecked the lock as well, and should the key miraculously turn up, as it always does after you've done something stupid like wrecking the lock, we will be in a position where we're back looking at an angle grinder. Big screwdriver and a heavy hammer. All right, well, I'll go and give that a good go. I may even film that. You can watch me take my own fingers and thumbs off at the hammer. That'll be a bit of fun. There is probably going to be a bit of swearing involved in that, but that's my job this afternoon. Why do I need to remove that? Well, because I'm currently sitting in a vehicle that will be towed behind it to go back down to Witherin. The company FBN Media is moving ahead, little bits and pieces, and part of that is being able to get around and do some content. The biggest problem we have is once the bus is sort of parked up somewhere, it's not the easiest or cheapest thing to just drive up the shops and drive around town, do a few things. So we've sorted ourselves out a little car that can be towed behind it. But the problem is I can't drive two cars at the same time. So I have Cass's Jeep, which will pull this little Suzuki. So that's the plan. This afternoon I'll hook her up and show you what we've got, and then head back down to Witherin so I can give Cass a Jeep back. So that'll be a little bit of an adventure for this afternoon. Should I manage to follow the heavy hammer and screwdriver line, and I should be able to get the thing off. Fingers crossed, it should work. There are a couple of things happening in the world which you need to be onto, particularly in Australia. Now, Senator Babbitt from UAP has been able to get an inquiry pushed into the Senate for vaccine deaths or injuries, the high number of deaths that we seem to be experiencing at the moment. Good luck to him for being able to put that through and actually get a Senate inquiry into this. But the Senate inquiry can only act upon the submissions that it gets. So if you know somebody who has been injured in this way, and Mick, I'm talking to you now. Mick, you qualify because you got your injury through a flu jab. And that was the flu jab just prior to the one they can't prove. And we are also aware now that that flu jab was, if you like, part of the trial. So if you know of somebody who has been vaccine injured, that means that you are suffering, some form of disability since you were jabbed. Now, it doesn't mean whether the government recognises it or not. You need to know that your doctors have said, oh, this has happened, and they've made excuses for it. You can put a submission in. Now, the submission is available, or submissions are open until the 17th of May. Now, if you want to put a submission in, you need to follow the lines the submission needs to follow. Now, you can get that from the Senate submissions page, where they will give you the outline of how you must submit your evidence, your whatever. Now, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can write to them, you can email them, you can, I think, in certain instances, attach or maybe send in video files. Now, this has to be done before the 17th of May. All those submissions will then be collated and presented to the committee. The committee will then call, one would hope, medical professionals, people from the Australian, the Federal Health Department, each individual state health department, and question them at length over what they believe is happening. Now, of course, we understand that they're going to tell lies. They are bureaucrats, and look, they may not even know they're telling lies because they are just so brainwashed. I've been having a conversation with one of them. Thought we might, get a bit of an inroad, but some of them are just impossible to talk to. They have an excuse for everything, and what they believe to be research isn't research at all. It is regurgitation. Until people learn to discern and learn to stop regurgitating and start researching, I don't think we're going to move very far. It's difficult for people, I understand, to accept much of what we're saying, particularly if those people have already been jabbed up the wazzy, a number of times. I want to make it clear that I do not believe everybody who has been jabbed is going to die or should have died by now. I think it depends on a number of factors what your reaction to that jab will be. The first, second, and third jabs. Well, if you've had the third, I think you're as deep into it, and you've only gone that far. I think you've gone as deep into it as you can get. If you haven't got sick by now, you might have dodged a bullet. Why? Well, that's because your immune system is stronger than that which is trying to oppress it. It was able to beat down what it put into you. That doesn't mean that you are safe by a long shot, because there is still a great deal of nanotechnology that is in there that isn't being explained to us, or why it's there. And potentially down the track, further things could occur using that nanotechnology. There are people who have had 1, 2, 3 jabs who have received injury. There are people who've received 4, 5, and 6 jabs who continue to become injured. Why? I believe, and it's just an opinion based on the research and the readings that I have done, I believe that this vaccine targets your immune system. If you already have a weakness in your immune system, it especially targets that. If you're a 7-year-old who has an undiscovered predisposition to a heart problem in the future, it will exploit that. And that 7-year-old might die on the soccer pitch one Saturday morning after getting a jab a week beforehand, as happened to many 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 14, 15-year-olds. I was having a conversation, well, not a conversation, I was having a back and forth chat in Facebook with a troll who doesn't believe that there are any excess deaths, doesn't believe there are excess deaths at all. I've given up trying to talk to that one, because what's the point? If they do not believe, if they cannot read the body of evidence and walk away with at least a question in their mind as to whether or not they have been told the truth, then these people are totally brainwashed and cannot be helped. They will fight us to the bitter end. And there's no point in fighting. I'm not about division. I'm trying to bring people together. All right? But we can't bring people together with lies. We can't bring people together by making promises that are unrealistic and self-serving. This has happened in many ways. were other things I was going to say, but I don't think I will right now on that. No, I'll keep that for a minute. So, Senator Babet and his submissions inquiry into vaccine injury and death is our best opportunity to have our voices heard in this realm. Now, it's very hard for a dead person to write a submission. I personally know 3 people who've died in this time period from complications that is agreed come from the jab. I can't say that they died from the jab because, well, there weren't autopsies conducted, were there? However, those 3 people deserve to have submissions put in on their behalf, and I would counsel their families to do just that. If the families can't do that, then I would offer to help, if it's at all possible. Because I think it's important that those who've been murdered by this are heard. And I'm amazed that Senator Babet has managed to get the Senate to agree to an inquiry, although it might be a changing sign of times in the Senate. Not that I'm, ready to convert and believe yet, not by a long shot. However, it's better than nothing. And I'm sure Senator Roberts and Senator Antic and Senator Rennick will be involved in that with some very big questions, and I hope enough power to compel answers from the bureaucrats who have hitherto, in many previous Senate sessions and estimates committees, have decided to not answer questions, have decided that it's not their job to answer those sorts of questions. The fact is, if you call before a Senate committee, you answer the questions that they put in front of you as honestly as you can. If you can't answer them for whatever reason, then it has to be an honest reason, and that should be that you don't know the answer, not that you don't want to tell the answer because it might incriminate or make some of your colleagues look a little bit on the shonky side, not to mention your organisation. I'm speaking obversely, if you like, about the CSIRO here in particular, who showed a flagrant disregard and disrespect for the Australian people and the senators who were asking questions on our behalf. The second guy in charge there, the 2IC, has since been resigned, gone another way. Have no doubt he would have got a golden parachute handout. And the guy at the head of the CSIRO is still there, taking over $1 million a year of taxpayer money just to keep screwing us. So nothing really changes until we change it. Good to see Senator Babet trying to have a go here. Whether or not anything comes of it, who knows? But it is vitally important that if you have an injury, if you know someone who has an injury, please encourage them to fill in the submission. We need as many of them as possible so that fools like the fellow I've been talking to online for the last couple of days actually does understand that there have been a large number of unexpected excess deaths across all age demographics. I mean, why? It can't explain to me why 6-year-olds are dying from myo or pericarditis. Can't explain to me why 13-year-olds or 15-year-olds are dying from the same thing. Just, deaths happen. Kids happen. They die. It's awful. That's real bucket and head in the sand stuff, isn't it? And that's why there's no point trying to convince these people. They will only argue, make excuses, and think that they're smarter than you. And it's not a matter of being smarter than anybody. I'm not smarter than you. You're not smarter than me. Something about that. It's about discernment. That's all. You've got to be able to learn the difference between somebody who's trying to do the right thing by you and somebody who is trying to tell you they're doing the right thing by you while doing something completely different. To blindly place your faith and trust in a government organisation filled with bureaucratic strangers that you will never meet in your life and let them have total control of your life is something many of us are all too willing to accept, and I don't understand why. I'm trying to, but I don't. But we will push on regardless. We will make things happen, because if we sit in our own mire of shit, nothing will happen. So we go out, we push a few buttons, we raise a few hackles, we build a few relationships. Maybe a few get bent, maybe a few get broken. I'm not in the business of breaking relationships. I like to go and meet everybody involved with what's going on. Everybody. I have a lot of experience dealing with people who are in a public speaking role, and that experience affords me a bit of insight into how people react and work and react to certain things. I'm not saying my way is the right way or the best way. It's just the way I know how to do it. So, for what it's worth, there is no intent, animosity, or bad feelings behind anything I say toward anybody in the movement. What I do is point out inconsistencies. What I do is point out incongruous instances where words and actions do not meet. What I do is give people enough rope and wait. That's all I do. That's all you have to do when ego is concerned. So, for those wanting to accuse me of all sorts of weird things about attacking others in the movement, I'm not. My phone number, my contacts, my email address, everything is open to everybody in the movement. And all the ones of particular note certainly have all those details. So my door is always open. My show is always available to them, always. So to accuse me of other things, of blocking certain people from speaking and all that, well, no, I don't. I certainly choose to allow people on my show because it's my show. There are people who push elements in this movement that I do not support, and in fact would not support. And therefore I probably wouldn't invite them on my show, but then again I might, just to see exactly what they're saying, and maybe there is something good that they're offering up. Maybe there is something that, the Voice of Freedom can do to help. At the end of the day, that's all I want to do. I want to help. I've done enough damage in my life. I want to build now. I don't want to destroy. I want to build. So I'm doing it the only way I can, and I'm doing it the most honest way I can. And that is by telling you how I feel. Honestly, truthfully. I have nothing to hide. I've got nothing to bitch and moan about as such. All I'm trying to do is show you that we can lead an honest, good life, being truthful and trying to find the solutions together. I'm not trying to ram a solution down your throat. I'm trying to present maybe everybody's solution so we can find the right one from them all, or maybe it's a piece of all of them and it creates a new solution that does work for us all. So that is what I'm about. And that is what I would hope many others who will join us on the Freedom Broadcasting Media Network channel will be about as well. It's not like we've all got to hold hands. We don't. We are all broadly speaking about the same things on the same page at the same time. it would be much nicer to be all working together. But I certainly won't work against anybody else as long as they're not telling lies to the people. If you're telling lies to the people, if you're not telling the whole truth, if you're obfuscating, if you are breaking and misaligning timelines to suit your story, then I might highlight that, because that to me isn't terribly honourable. However, genuine mistakes can be made, and we can always look back and find out how we can do things better. And I'm certainly one of those people who is very readily able to admit that I can do things better. So, as I say, there's been some changes behind the scenes here, and we have a month to really get stuff going. Hence, I'm sitting in a car that's going to be towed behind a bus. So we want you to be part of that, folks. We need you to like and subscribe, not just here at the Voice of Freedom, but we need you to go to fbnmedia.com. Oh, I beg your pardon, fbnmedia.online, which I had a meeting about this morning. Now, at the moment, you'll only find the landing page, but over the next 3 weeks, you'll find a lot more stuff starts to go in there. And, of course, if you can like our FBN Media channel on YouTube, and, of course, on YouTube, we have VOF HQ. Like and subscribe to those. This particular Nun2K channel, still amazed that it's up and running, but it will go in the not too distant future. So if we can get to our live streaming levels on both those channels, that would be awesome, and we will be able to put a lot more stuff forward in the coming days, weeks, and months. In fact, we've had a couple of really big content meetings while we've been away, and look forward to bringing you a whole heap of new and interesting stories. In fact, there might even be an opportunity for some of you, if you are remotely interested, in being able to film a little bit of stuff for us now and again. If there's something happening in your town, whether it be a party, a parade, or a protest, if it's your local town flower festival, or if it's just a local country market with some local produce grown, want to see it, just need you to film it and send it to us, to our Contrib site, contrib@vofhq.com, or I think it's contrib.vofhq.com, contrib, CONTRIB .vofhq.com, and you can upload the file there, I think, to about 2 gigabyte in size. Just give us a little note in the comments about what it was all about, and we'll put something together and let people know that this happens in your town on a regular basis. Maybe we can drive a few people to it. If you've got an event you'd like to see us at, we'd love to come. Get in touch. We can help you out. Daniel, are you talking to me when you're saying something is still bothering me, dude? Shit, you people read me well. Yeah. Life's all right, mate. Life's all right. We'll push on. It's what we do. We come out and start the fight. We finish the fight. Not going to walk away from the fight just because it gets a bit tough at times. So it's all good. We move on. We move forward. There is no point in going back unless you're going to reassess the decisions of the past and make better ones in the future. I'm hoping to make better ones in the future. One of those better ones would be to go and get the power supply for the bloody laptop and be able to do a proper show again. So I hope to sort that out in the not too distant future. Thank you to everybody who's popped in. I want you to please make sure that submission for Vaxinjuries, if you know someone in your family who has suffered, you can make a submission, but you need to go to the submissions page on the Senate website and learn how to put that submission in. It has to go in a particular way. If it doesn't go in a particular way, it gets filed in the round receptacle under R for rubbish, and that'll be that. So please go and look at the guidelines of how to submit a submission to the Senate inquiry into excess deaths and Vaxinjuries, put together by Senator Babbitt. The other big issue at the moment, of course, is the digital ID. We have until the end of, not quite the end of May, I want to say the 24th of May, where Representatives will make some form of decision on that. It might be earlier than that. We need to scream loudly to our politicians. You need to be ringing their offices on a daily basis and registering your complaint and how vehemently you are against the installation of a digital ID. Do not accept the lie that it will be voluntary, that nobody will be forced to get a digital ID. That is an absolute lie, like it was with the jab. Nobody will be forced to get the jab. Bullshit. You were ostracized from community. You lost your job. You lost everything because you made a informed decision not to be jabbed. Have no doubt the digital ID will be exactly the same. It will be rammed into you sideways by business, not by government, because government can't ram it into you. But business can. Business can be coerced by government, another corporation, into doing it. So that's how it's going to happen. It will come in obliquely. You'll go to try and get a loan one day, or you'll go somewhere to try and get something, and they'll say, oh, what's your ID? You'll hold your license up, and they'll say, oh, that's not enough. We need a digital ID. I don't have one. Oh, well, we can't help you then. That's what will happen. And then you eventually will decide, oh, well, it's easier to go and get digital ID. The fear is that our young people will decide it's much easier to get it put in the back of their hand and just wave it as they walk through the door somewhere. True body tracking, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's already there. Already able to be done. Banks at the moment. Anne, your bank wants lots of details. Yeah, bank wants heaps of details. Oh, speaking of banks, Westpac. I got a letter yesterday, I want to say. An email from somebody. Now let me get this right because it's important. Right. It was, I think, from the My Place Gold Coast group, where a letter from Westpac was put up, basically stating that you own nothing, outlining the trust structure of how the deed for your property is moved around, and you aren't told about it. Associated, there's no point going into our bank and talking to our staff there. They don't know about it either. It was signed by some Indian woman, head of Westpac Banking Corporation, with a New York City address, and there was a Collins Street address down the bottom of the thing as well. This is a fake document, okay? Don't go and get too excited if you're a Westpac mortgagee, so to speak. If you've got your mortgage with them, don't. I'm not saying it's not being done. I'm just saying that this letter is a fake. It didn't come from Westpac. Westpac, well, as Cass said to me when I ran it past her, she said, well, Westpac's an Australian banking company, doesn't have a head office in New York. So that should be the first indicator. The second indicator, well, the first one that I picked up was there was a very large spelling mistake in it. These are the ways you can begin. Like if you see a spelling mistake in a letter that's coming from someone like Westpac and the boss of Westpac, that should raise a flag in you to question everything about the document. Why? Yeah, sure. Spelling mistakes happen, but they don't happen at a corporate level that high, right? That letter would have gone through 50 different spell checkers before it went out. Would have been seen by 200 different sets of eyes. And yet it had a very basic, bland spelling error in it. And that was what immediately made me take second notice. So they're the sorts of things you can look for when you see those sorts of documents. Something that makes you go, that's a bit stupid, or that's a bit unprofessional. It also can be the syntax, the wording that they use. People who do not command the English language or do not have a command of the English language like a first language can sometimes bugger up the syntax of English. God knows it's a very difficult disease, a very difficult language. Some might say it's a disease. But with a little bit of discernment, with a little bit of logical thinking, a little clarity, you will start to question those documents before you start being afraid of them. Before you start wanting to share them and say, oh, look, if you're a Westpac person, it's much better to be the one that points out the spelling mistake than the one who hands on a fake document. And if it can be proved that, well, maybe it is just a spelling mistake and the document isn't fake, well to it. And once again, that particular document, I'm not saying for 1 second that the information contained in it is not true. I'm just telling you that it didn't come from Westpac at all. All right? In Time is a film, says Pete. And it equals digital life. I watched something recently that said the same thing. Maybe that's what I watched. They're pushing it a lot. Netflix at the moment has a vast range of content that is pushing this sort of feel or pushing back against it. I actually feel that it is less pushing back against it while seeming to push back against some of the truths that we have. It's very cleverly written. Some of their shows are adopting our position, you think, until you get deeper into the show and you find that that's not it at all. You find you're on the dark side barracking for them. That's why I don't terribly watch Netflix too much anymore. But certainly some really interesting dark programming on Netflix at the moment. Very, very dark. If you are looking for a little bit of programming that will make your heart glow, although the 4th episode in the series can get a bit heartbreaking, Clarkson's Farm 3 is up on Amazon Prime. First 4 episodes, another 4 next Monday. I hope they're better than the first 4, because the last one really is a tearjerker. They're getting pigs, you see, and the piglets are dying. It's a bad thing. Just having a bit of a glance through some of the comments. Nice to see you, Daniel. I'm so sorry I missed you in Canberra, but we will be back, mate. Hello, Susan. The excess deaths chart. I haven't posted it here. If you go to, I think it's Senator Roberts' page on Facebook, you'll be able to get all that detail. He's posted quite a lot of that stuff up. You might find it's available on, any of the other sites too. Pardon me, Sunflower. The flu jab put your mum in hospital. Yeah, I got a mate called Mick down the coast. He had a flu jab. Now got a real heart problem, a very debilitating heart problem, and that came from the flu jab that was administered. I think he said 3 months before the Gibberty jab came out. So yeah, it's changed his life, sadly, and they were able to get away with it, and they still will get away with it unless those flu jabs are also examined. And I don't know whether or not the senators are aware that the 2019-2020 flu jab was all part of this, but we'll have to wait and see. Daniel, mate. Well, we will come. I don't know what you got for I don't know what you got for a mate, but maybe it's wire and blue tack. That'd be kind of what we need. But yeah. So a little bit of an update on the old girl. She is resting comfortably at the moment. Did a almighty job getting what must have been the better part of 3 ton of pot plants and dirt and garden furniture and other stuff up to Cass's new property, over hill, down dale, up bloody great hills, down smaller little ones. There seem to be a lot smaller hills going down than they were going up, I've got to admit. We do still have our electric problem, but we have a plan in train to fix that, and that requires Vince coming for a week. And hopefully in a week we can rewire the bits that are of concern and fix any other things that we can lay our hands on. The plan was to be heading further north into far north Queensland for a few events up there. We've had to postpone that just at the moment, but It's not off. We just want to make sure the vehicle's set and ready to go before we take a traipsing 2,000 kilometre drive north and discover some issue that we should have fixed beforehand. So that is still the plan. Also, in the next month or so, you'll see a lot more happening with fdnmedia.online. At the moment, just a landing page, but as I say, you'll see a bit more coming into there. We will have some new content from new providers, hopefully, who will join us on there too. And Voice of Freedom will just be one of many that slot into that. And you can be part of that. If you want to be a stringer for us, if you want to help us get a little bit of content from your town, your event, your whatever, please share it with us. All you've got to do is take the phone, but not the way I'm doing the phone now, right? My phone is what they say in portrait mode at the moment. If I do that, I don't know if you can still see me but I turn it sideways to landscape mode, right? Landscape mode is the best way to shoot video. Please shoot video in landscape mode, not portrait mode. For me, at any rate. If you're going to do something for Instagram or any of those sorts of things, then the other way is fine for them because their algorithm works with it. Mine doesn't. I've got to fill in the sides otherwise. So turn your camera sideways. That would be absolutely fabulous. Tony, thank you very much. You're a legend, brother. You are a legend. So, and I know, mate, the support that you guys have given me, particularly while I was down with you at Oberon, and then when you came to help me in Canberra, I can't thank you enough again. We'll get it sorted. The old girl, she's... somebody said to me while they were trying to think they were abusing me or going to upset me, "Oh, you live in a bus." I love it. Love it. I much prefer to live in a bus than worry about a $500,000 mortgage that's going up and up and up and up and up. Now, if you're lucky enough to not have to worry about any of those sorts of issues in your life, God bless you. Congratulations. People live on different things. There are plenty of people who just need a tree to live under. They don't need anything else. I need a little bit more than a tree, but for the most part, no, I don't need a big house. I don't need a big flash car. I don't need flash clothes. I don't need anything like that. I need a life that I can feel good about leading. I need a